Welcome, everyone. If you are joining us right now, you are exactly who we built this space for.
You really are. You are the learner.
Right, the kind of person who is just insanely curious, who loves those massive aha moments, but, who also values their time.
Because nobody wants to get lost in an ocean of information overload.
Exactly. And we are just thrilled to have you here for another deep dive. Today, we have a really fascinating and incredibly provocative source on the table.
It definitely fixed things up.
It really does. We are looking at a YouTube video transcript from a channel called The Watts Legacy, and the video is titled The Major Misconception in Quantum Manifestation.
It is a deeply provocative piece of material, to say the least.
Yeah.
The creator of this video takes something that is, so deeply embedded in modern self-help and spiritual culture and attempts to just completely turn it on its head.
They really go for it.
They do. It challenges the very foundation of how millions of people have been taught to approach their goals.
So our mission for this deep dive is to explore how this source completely deconstructs the wildly popular law of attraction paradigm.
Which is huge.
Massive. The core thesis of the video is that trying to attract what you want is actually a fundamentally flawed approach.
An approach that actively keeps you stuck.
Right. And we are going to look at how the creator suggests replacing it with a model they call quantum collapse.
Which they argue is actually backed by biology and physics.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the video starts with a premise that I think will bring a massive sigh of relief to a lot of you listening.
Oh, absolutely.
The premise is basically this. If you have been visualizing and feeling it and believing it and trying to raise your vibration,
Doing all the steps.
but nothing is changing in your actual life, you aren't doing it wrong.
According to this material, you are doing exactly what you were taught. But the video argues that the teaching itself has a flaw.
The entire paradigm of the law of attraction.
Exactly. The entire framework contains a hidden structural flaw.
And they aren't saying the teachers are malicious, right?
No, not at all. The creators suggest that the teachers of this method are just operating within an incomplete framework. And to understand the argument, we really have to look at the language itself.
The word attract.
Specifically the word attract.
I found this part so interesting. The video claims that when we say we are trying to attract something, we are unconsciously affirming a state of separation.
Yes.
It is so subtle, but once I read that, I just couldn't unsee it.
The underlying logic here is that the framework of attraction broadcasts a frequency that declares a very specific reality.
It's like you're stating a fact to the universe.
Right. By trying to pull something toward you, the video argues you're essentially saying, I am here, the thing I want is out there somewhere in the future, and I must pull it toward me through the force of my intention.
You are constantly affirming the distance between you and your desire.
You're affirming the gap. And according to the creator's interpretation of quantum mechanics, the field doesn't hear your words.
It doesn't look at your vision board.
It responds entirely to your underlying state.
So the state of someone trying to attract wealth, for example, is actually the state of someone who doesn't currently have wealth.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It is the state of reaching, of waiting, and hoping.
When I read that section, I really had to laugh at myself. I realized I do this exact thing all the time.
We all do.
I will spend 10 minutes visualizing a super successful launch for a project, really trying to feel that abundance, and then 2 seconds later, I am checking my analytics or my bank app in an absolute panic.
Looking for proof.
Looking for proof that it worked.
That cycle of checking and verifying is exactly what the source describes as the trap.
The trap.
Every time you measure your current reality against your desired reality to see if it has arrived yet, you are observing your life from a state of lack.
You're observing the absence of it.
Right. And the video claims this creates a profound biological loop. Your nervous system literally becomes addicted to the chemistry of seeking.
Wow.
It gets used to the hope, the longing, that specific feeling of being almost there.
There is this profound line in the transcript. The seeker never finds because finding would end the seeking.
It's a powerful statement.
That line hit me really hard. The seeker never finds because finding would end the seeking. You end up stabilizing in a state of perpetually reaching for something.
You normalize the longing instead of the actual fulfillment.
And if reality acts as a mirror, as the video suggests, the universe perfectly reflects that exact state of reaching right back to you.
You just get more seeking.
More wanting.
The creator is careful to point out that this isn't a matter of the universe judging you or deciding you aren't worthy.
It's just mechanics.
In this framework, it is simply a matter of consistency. If you are stuck in an endless loop of attracting, you are continuously keeping the desire at arm's length.
So the argument is that manifestation isn't failing.
Right. It is working perfectly by continuously manifesting your ongoing state of separation.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the source shifts from pointing out this psychological problem to offering a solution.
A solution grounded in quantum mechanics.
Yeah. It brings up the famous double slit experiment as a metaphor for how reality actually functions.
The double slit experiment is a cornerstone of actual quantum physics.
Right.
In simple terms, the experiment demonstrates that a quantum particle exists in a wave of probability.
Meaning it exists in all possible states simultaneously.
Exactly, until it is observed by a measuring device. The very act of observation is what causes that wave of infinite possibilities to collapse into one single measurable position.
So the particle isn't in a fixed state until an observer looks at it.
Correct.
Wait, I need to stop you there and make sure I'm grasping this. So is it kind of like a spinning coin?
A spinning coin. Okay, let's play with that.
While it's spinning in the air, it is technically both heads and tails at the same time. But the moment it slaps the table and you look at it, it collapses into just one or the other.
That is a great analogy for the basic concept. The probability wave is the spinning coin, and the observation is the moment it slaps the table and becomes a fixed reality.
Got it.
Now, what the video does is take this physics concept and apply it directly to human consciousness. The creator argues that we are the observers of our own reality.
And our state of being is what collapses the wave of possibilities into our physical experience.
Yes.
But the video emphasizes that this collapse doesn't happen randomly, right?
Correct. According to this specific framework, the collapse is based entirely on the frequency and the state of the observer. The state from which you are looking determines the outcome.
So it's about the lens you're looking through.
Yes. The creator argues you are essentially performing the double slit experiment every single day of your life.
Every single day.
Every time you think about your desire, every time you check to see if it has arrived yet, you are the observer collapsing the wave function.
So to bring this down to earth, based on the video's logic, when I visualize abundance from a foundational state of financial anxiety, I'm not manifesting wealth.
No, because your foundational state is anxiety.
I am observing from fear, so I am collapsing that quantum wave function into more anxiety. If someone affirms love from a state of deep loneliness, they collapse the wave into more loneliness.
And again, the source clarifies this, so listeners don't fall into the trap of self-blame. The video argues this isn't the universe punishing you.
It's just reflecting you.
It happens because you were the text calls a coherent observer.
Yeah.
You are consistently broadcasting a state of lack.
Your observations are coherent, meaning they perfectly match your underlying fear.
Right. And the creator posits that the quantum field responds precisely to that authentic state, not the positive words you are artificially laying over the top of it.
So manifestation in this paradigm is absolutely not about pulling something toward you from across time and space.
It is about collapsing into a reality where the thing already exists.
That word collapse completely changes the tone for me.
It does. It removes the effort.
Yeah, the pulling, the straining, but it also sounds like it requires something else entirely to actually work. It requires biological alignment, not just happy thoughts.
What's fascinating here is how the source moves from quantum theory into biology and neurology to explain this.
The video breaks down the mechanics behind why positive thinking alone just doesn't work.
The creator argues it all comes down to your electromagnetic signature. The claim is that the field does not hear positive thoughts layered over a biological state of fear.
The video takes a really interesting leap here, stating that this isn't just metaphysics, but actual measurable biology.
The argument presented is that your heart generates an electromagnetic field that extends beyond your physical body.
And your brain generates measurable frequencies.
Right. The video claims that when your brain and your heart are synchronized, when they are broadcasting the exact same signal, they create a coherent electromagnetic signature.
But if your words are declaring absolute abundance while your body chemistry and your heart are screaming in survival mode,
The field receives a mixed, fragmented signal.
and according to the creator, when the field gets a mixed signal, it doesn't know what reality to collapse into.
So it defaults to chaos. It defaults to inconsistency, giving you that frustrating experience of being almost there, but not quite.
Which brings us to a major biological roadblock, the video highlights. The Reticular Activating System, or the RAS.
This is a crucial piece of the puzzle.
We have to talk about this because it explains why doing this mindset work feels so incredibly hard
It
sometimes.
really does.
But Source points out that the mind, fundamentally, is a survival machine. It is not a manifestation engine.
It is wired to reference the past to keep you safe from future threats.
The RAS functions as your brain's unconscious filter.
And the video notes that it has been trained entirely on your personal history.
So if you have lived in scarcity, the argument is that your RAS is wired to highlight lack to protect you from being blindsided by poverty.
If you have experienced heartbreak, it highlights signs of abandonment to keep you guarded.
I can totally relate to this. My RAS is perfectly tuned to remember a mildly embarrassing thing I said at a dinner party 5 years ago rather than focusing on my career goals.
It's prioritizing potential social threats over ambition.
Exactly. When I try to sit down and genuinely shift my state into fulfillment, my RAS will suddenly interrupt with panic about upcoming bills.
It's trying to protect you.
And I want to pause on this for you listening. When this happens, it feels like failure. It feels like you are broken.
But the video urges us to realize it is just the nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do.
It is trying to keep you safe in the familiar.
And here is the kicker from the source. It will try to keep you in the familiar, even if the familiar is deeply painful.
Because to a primitive nervous system, familiar means predictable, and predictable means survivable.
Chaos or low-grade stress might be your baseline. The video suggests your system literally becomes addicted to the cortisol and adrenaline of that familiar state.
So when you try to shift into a new state of peace or fulfillment, your nervous system panics.
It interprets the unknown calm as a life-threatening danger, and it pulls you back to the familiar stress.
Okay, so if the law of attraction is fundamentally flawed because it creates this loop of lack, and our own biology is fighting us to keep us in familiar stress.
What do we actually do?
Exactly. What does the source suggest we do? We can't just positive think our way out of a biological survival response.
No, you can't. The video introduces what it calls sacred technologies and pattern interruption mechanisms.
The creator insists these aren't just feel-good temporary band-aids.
They are deliberate practices designed to hijack the survival loop and teach your body what fulfillment actually feels like on a chemical level.
Let's really dig into these because they sound intense. The first one they mention is specific deep breathing.
The goal with the breathing techniques mentioned isn't just relaxation.
It's not just taking a nice breath.
The video argues it is specifically designed to manually activate the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest mode.
By controlling the breath, you are sending a physical signal to the brain that you are safe.
Forcefully pulling yourself out of the fight or flight survival loop so you can actually establish a new baseline state.
Then there is gratitude, which the source frames very differently than I've heard before.
It's not used as a transactional tool.
Right, like saying thank you so the universe gives you more stuff. The video says gratitude should be used to flood the system with elevated emotions without needing an external circumstance to trigger it.
You're basically self-generating the chemicals of fulfillment.
Another fascinating tool the video mentions is cold exposure.
The cold exposure piece is really interesting.
I have to admit, I'm always a little skeptical of the ice bath trend. Does taking a freezing shower really help you manifest things?
The logic the creator provides isn't about the cold magically bringing you wealth. The reasoning is that cold exposure is a controlled stressor.
It triggers a massive biological panic response.
If you can train your mind to remain calm, breathe, and stay coherent while your body is screaming that it is freezing, the video argues you are breaking your addiction to comfort.
You are training your nervous system to remain coherent under pressure.
Which is exactly what you need when your RAS tries to pull you back into old anxiety loops.
That actually makes a lot of sense. It's a rehearsal for staying calm in chaos. They also talk about embodiment practices.
This is about physically teaching your body what the fulfilled state feels like.
Like literally walking through your house with the posture and physical cadence of the person who already has the job, or the relationship, or the health.
Which ties directly into the final technology, which is posture changes.
The video references how simply changing how you hold your body, pulling your shoulders back, lifting your chin, sends direct mechanical signals to your brain.
It tells the brain that you are confident and certain, even when your mind is trying to spiral into doubt.
It is a biological hack to override a psychological panic.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? We've talked about the flaw of the word attract, the physics metaphor of quantum collapse, the biological roadblock of the RAS, and these physical tools to overcome it.
It's a lot of pieces.
The video synthesizes all of this into a massive paradigm shift. It completely redefines what we think of when we hear the term quantum leap.
Most people hear quantum leap and they think of incredible speed.
They think of waking up tomorrow in a completely different life, moving super fast through time to get to a goal.
But the source uses the strict physics definition to redefine this concept. In quantum mechanics, a quantum leap is when an electron disappears from one orbit and instantly appears in another orbit.
Without ever traveling the space between them.
Right.
So it doesn't travel fast. It doesn't travel at all. It just is there, and then it is here.
It is discontinuous, timeless, and instantaneous. The electron collapsed from one state to another. And the video applies this directly to human reality.
The creator argues that a quantum leap in your life is not movement.
It is instantaneous alignment. When you stop trying to build a bridge from where you are to where you want to be, and instead change the observer, change your coherent biological state, you collapse from one timeline to another.
And this brings us to what I think is the most powerful analogy in the entire transcript. The mirror metaphor.
This is a beautiful way to visualize it.
The video asks us to think about how a physical mirror works. You have never in your life tried to attract your reflection in a mirror.
No, of course not.
You don't stand across the room, stare at the glass, and try to use your willpower to pull your reflection toward you.
You simply walk up and stand in front of it.
The reflection was always there. It was just waiting for you to position yourself correctly in front of it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the video argues the quantum field operates exactly like that mirror.
According to this framework, all possibilities, all timelines, and all versions of you already exist simultaneously in the quantum field right now.
The version of you that is abundant, the version that is healthy, the version that is loved.
The creator asserts they are already fully formed. Therefore, manifestation is not an act of creating something from nothing.
It is an act of remembrance.
Remembrance. You aren't building a reality that doesn't exist. You are recognizing a reality that is already complete.
You just have to remember who you already are and observe reality from that state of completion.
And according to the video, which version collapses into your physical experience isn't determined by what you want the most or what you hope for the artist.
It is determined solely by which version you observe from.
This requires a fundamental shift in how we experience our own lives.
The source points out that society trains us to operate on conditions.
We say things like, I will be happy when I get the money.
Or, I will feel worthy when I find the relationship.
We place our fulfillment entirely in the future, dependent on external circumstances changing first.
And what did the video teach us about the future?
It never arrives. There's only now.
If you say, I'll be happy when, the creator argues you are actively broadcasting the state of someone who is not happy now.
You are observing from lack. The challenge presented to us is to end the wait. Stop putting conditions on your fulfillment.
Happiness, worthiness, abundance, these are not states you arrive at after your conditions change.
According to this model, they are the states you must observe from right now that actually cause the conditions to change.
You don't get the money and then feel abundant.
You feel abundant, and that biological coherence causes the reality of money to collapse into your experience.
It is a complete reversal of the cause and effect model we are so used to.
The video is asking you to shift from the framework of acquisition, trying to get things, to the framework of remembrance, recognizing you already have them.
You shift from becoming to simply being.
So to completely summarize this deep dive into the Watts legacy material, the ultimate shortcut to being well-informed on this specific paradigm is realizing the video argues you absolutely must stop practicing lack.
You must stop rehearsing the old state.
You have to stop checking to see if it worked, because the very act of checking confirms you are still stuck in the old timeline, waiting for something to arrive.
You are challenged to shift your identity from the seeker, who is always one step away, addicted to the longing, to the identity of the creator.
But not a creator who builds from scratch. A creator who simply recognizes and collapses into a reality that is already done.
It is a profound shift from pushing against reality to simply aligning with the reality you choose. And this raises an important question, something we really want to leave you with today.
Let's hear it.
We talked earlier about how the nervous system fights back when you try to step into these new coherent states of fulfillment.
Right. The mind sees the unfamiliar piece as a life-threatening danger and floods you with doubt, fear, and memories of past failures.
The addiction to the familiar chemistry, exactly. It's tough to break. So consider this final thought from the source material. If your nervous system is literally addicted to the chemistry of your familiar past, and your mind views your discomfort with new, abundant states as a life-threatening danger. What if that feeling of deep, uncomfortable resistance you experience tomorrow isn't a sign that you are feeling it manifesting, but the exact biological proof that you are successfully starving your old reality out of existence?
Wow, let that sink in.
It reframes everything.
The resistance is the proof it's working. That is an incredibly powerful way to reframe those tough days. Well, that wraps up our analysis of this material. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a great conversation.
We highly encourage you to take these concepts, explore them on your own, and consciously choose the state you are observing from today. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring.